coming today. I really appreciate it. I see a lot of faces here, man, that bring back a lot of memories. So retired and a lot of guys that put in a lot of work here at the station. This has been what Marcus passed in July, and we've been working on putting this thing together for a few months. So the beautiful part of all this, for me personally, is that the time that has passed, these 3 or 4 months, we were scrambling. I got together with Alvarez and we were talking about it and getting this memorial built, the shadow box. But during that time, it was a blessing, because the 4 months, I was hit so hard by the news of Marcus passing that, I was, to be completely honest with you, I was struggling in the beginning with this whole thing, because it was so unsuspected. But this time has allowed healing to take place, and also given me maybe an opportunity to gain the proper perspective on this whole thing. Marcus was a man of deep faith, right? And I know in this situation here, this should be a celebration, right? It should be a celebration and to honor him and what he did. It's not a time for sorrow. It's a time for happiness and joy. And a big part of this whole thing for me is as I was thinking about this, I'm just talking from the heart. I didn't write anything down, but as I was thinking about this whole thing, what word kept coming up to me as I thought about Marcus and just a lot of the guys that have worked here at the station is the theme of brotherhood, right? And Marcus, to me, was the embodiment of that brotherhood. I read part of his the pamphlet from his funeral service, and I always call Marcus Big Bro. That was it. What's up, Big Bro? And I read his pamphlet as I was kind of going over this whole thing, and he was the oldest, and he had 2 younger siblings. And in the thing, it said his parents never worried about him or his younger brothers and sisters, because they always knew he was going to look out for them, and he was going to do the right thing, and he was going to protect them, And as I thought about that, that was what he did here in the firehouse for so many of us. He was Big Bro. He looked out for us. He had our back, Marcus would always, whenever I'd have conversations with him, he never offered up advice on anything. It was just, he'd listen. But then he would say something, and it would always be, well, the Bible says, right? And so, as I thought about this topic of brotherhood, there's a story in the Bible, and I'm not a Bible scholar, so bear with me. I'm going to paraphrase a little bit, but there's a story of Cain and Abel in the Bible, right? And in the story, Cain kills his brother, right? Who was a good guy who did things, kills his brother and buries him. And God calls Cain, calls him up and says, "Hey, give me a part. Where's your brother?" And Cain's reaction was, "Am I my brother's keeper?" And in other words, he was like, "Man, it's not my responsibility. He's a grown man." And that is so applicable as I thought about it, and I thought about Marcus, so much of what he lived by. He was a living testament to me as far as just faith. He was a man of faith, and he lived that, and I thought about that. And I said, so much of what he embodied was grounded in that principle, of brotherhood. He looked out for us. And he accepted and he was accountable. He accepted responsibility. There are so many instances, not just on the fire ground, where I look back and man, him and I worked here a long time together, you know, where I can remember, man, and there's so many people here that will tell you the same thing. Situations, some of them well documented, where I looked up and it was a bad situation. I remember there was an attic fire over in Paradise Hills, and I had a partner who at the time wasn't used to working here. They're working overtime, and something happened to him, and I was up on the roof, and part of the back of the house caved in, and I was up there by myself, and I looked over like, uh-oh. And when I looked back on the edge of the roof, Marcus was up on the ladder with a roof hook and an axe. And I said, man, where's so-and-so? He's like, oh man, forget about it. I got you, bro. Don't worry about it, you know, and that's who he was. And I think that in itself, and as I think about this whole thing and why it was so important to put together, is because although in most cases, like the memorials that are in firehouses are usually people who passed away while on duty, right? But Marcus was a special case, because as we think about it, and there are so many good men, women that are here today that put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into this neighborhood and this community. He's, to a man, as I called around every person, like, hey, what do you think of this? Every single person was like, who? Marcus Tarver? Absolutely. Absolutely. And not only for us as a memory of him, but also I think it's important for this new generation of firefighters, you know, to see that. And it's not just, oh, this was this guy who, yeah, we remember all of the stuff that he did as far as, I mean, I worked with him probably close to 10 years, and there probably wasn't a go around that didn't go by where I didn't see him do something physically where I was like, wait a minute, that's not supposed to be possible, right? But I think what's important is that these guys understand and grasp that example that he set of brotherhood, looking out for each other, you know. So, you know, man, so many of my brothers are here today, and sisters, and and you know, it just warms my heart. I was so excited about today because I knew, A, that we were going to honor Marcus, and then B, that I knew so many of you guys were going to be able to show up. So thank you, and we're going to start this thing off today with a brother. Spent a lot of years here. He's going to start this off with a prayer. So.
Robert O'Hara was one of the captains that worked with Marcus at 14s. He was supposed to come and say the opening prayer, but he had some stuff going on, and just wanted to make sure that somebody represented, so I'm standing in for him. He wanted me to talk about John 15:13, and it says, no greater love is there for a man that he would lay down his life for a friend. And those of you that knew Marcus, you knew that he would do anything for you. He would break himself for anybody on the job. But one of the most amazing things to watch him do was to sit down with his wife when she'd call and something would be going on at home, and he'd stop whatever he was doing, and that gentleness he had with his family and with his kids. Immeasurable. So God, we just come before you thanking you for this day that we get a chance to honor your warrior, God. When these things happen, God, it kind of knocks us in our hearts and takes us for a loop. But God, you and your amazing wisdom know exactly the thing we need to motivate us to look towards you, the perfecter and finisher of our faith. So we lift up our brother Marcus, and we just thank you for the opportunity that we had an opportunity just to know him and to love him. This brother's legacy will go on forever. And a piece of him rolls with each and every one of us from this day forward. Thank you in the mighty name of Jesus.
You guys go in and see that. You guys remember Chris Miller, right? Chris Miller. Paulie called him up. You know, when I was talking to Paulie about this thing, and Paulie was like, "Man, I'll tell you what, Fletch, I'm gonna call Chris Miller right now and see if he'll make this." And of course, Chris picked the phone up and said, "For who?" absolutely, I'll be honored to make it. And don't even think about paying me for it. So, you know, Chris, he's not here today, but we got to thank him. And then also the guys that are here on all divisions, okay? They put a lot of work into this whole thing here, and especially the guys here on A division. Johnny Fry, Jason Diaz, and really special thanks that I want to give to this. Come over here real quick. Corey, come here, man. Hey, a lot of you old guys and retired guys, this guy right here, he's my dude, but he's here, and so much of this stuff, he has so much respect for the history of this station and the people that worked here. He's put so much work into this place, and he's been my go-to guy as far as anything concerning 12s, because I haven't been here in a while, and you know, I just wanted to make sure we recognize him and express my appreciation of what you do. And he's a younger guy, and he has respect for a lot of the traditions. So just thank you. He's done a great job. He's been real instrumental in putting this thing together. Okay. I was talking about brotherhood, and there's another guy here today. I'm gonna put him on the spot, but definitely Mark is my big bro. This is my little brother while we're here, and I'm carrying this belt. This is Marcus's belt buckle. He used to wear this all the time, and just to remind Stanley of the story, I'm not gonna tell it, but I want him to come up here and say a couple words.
And deeply humbled. For those of you that were able to make it out to Texas and actually be there with this family, thank you very much. I wasn't able to go, but yeah, like Fletcher, when I heard the news, I was it hurt, got me to the core. Marcus was like a big brother. He was big bro to Fletcher. He was big T to me. He just walked in, he's bigger than life when he comes into work. And I do miss him, but I'm going to tell you a quick story. Fletcher and I were talking, we had many laughs over the phone, but when I got to 12, I don't think Marcus was quite here yet, but I was young on the job, maybe a year and a half. Excited to be at 12. 12 meant a lot to me, still does. And when Marcus got there, we were having conversations, and I said, Marcus, have you ever kicked the door and like going to the working part and just use your foot to kick the door in? And his eyes lit up. Man, Stanley. And I'm like, really? Man, Marcus, I've never done it. I can't wait. Man, Stanley, there's nothing like it. So I couldn't wait. And it probably didn't take long. My partner, Brian Mann, I know you're here somewhere, my friend. But we're on the pump together and we get this little house fire. Brian's on the nozzle. He pulls his line to the front door. I go running up behind Brian, and Marcus in his Class C uniform comes around the pump and goes, Stanley, what do you guys need? And I look at Brian, and Brian, do you need anything? He goes, we need forcible entry. So I turn around, Marcus, forcible entry. He just says, okay, and he comes running up in his Class C uniform. I'm like, is he bringing irons or what's he doing? So the house has a little like stoop, little porch. You go up 2-3 steps, a real tight area. And we're sitting there, and here comes Marcus, and he just goes up there and he grabs the screen door and just rips it off the hinge. Right? It was a wooden frame screen door, but nonetheless, Brian and I are thinking forcible entry, and this brother here just come up here. So now I'm thinking, here's my opportunity to kick this door in. So I go to do the try before you pry, and just as I go to try that doorknob, the size, I don't know what he wore, size 13, 14, just comes right by my face and bam! And kicks the door in. Marcus! Sorry. We still have a dry hose line. Go get us water. Okay. Well, man, he was something special. I learned a lot from that dude. He didn't always tell you the answers. All you had to do was watch. All you had to do was listen, and all you had to do was learn. And he taught me a lot of life lessons. More about being a man off the job than being on the job. Being a man off the job rather than actually being a firefighter. you can pay attention and learn a lot from him as a firefighter. But as far as being a man and what that means, if you were paying attention, Marcus was teaching you every day, all day. So again, thank you, Fletcher. I appreciate this opportunity. And thank you all for showing up. Thanks for those that went to Texas, and God bless you, Sharpens family. Love you guys.
Thanks, Dan. Everybody is going to get an opportunity at the end of this thing. Johnny will kind of make sense of all this to you guys. He's our logistics guy, but we're going to have a camera set up where everyone will have an opportunity to speak and say their piece. Try to keep it somewhat reasonable, but you'll get a chance to say what you want to say, and this whole thing is going to go to his family for Christmas. Okay, so you'll get your opportunity to talk. So the next person I'd like to call up is Johnny Fry. Where are you at, Johnny Fry? Oh, there you go.
Thanks, Fletcher. Welcome. Thanks for being here. We had an opportunity to. Sorry.
Hey, man.
Fletcher told me to shoot from the hip, but I was afraid I'd forget something. So I've got notes. Yeah, we're here today to kind of dedicate that shadow box as a memorial to Marcus Tarver, and really kind of dedicate the station as a whole to Marcus Tarver. I'm pretty honored, very humbled, and honestly pretty inadequate for being the guy to kind of tell you who Marcus was, considering I only spent maybe 3 or 4 years, and plenty of you guys spent way more time with Marcus in this station and other stations than I did. But nonetheless, I'm the guy. But I am going to explain to you kind of the 2 reasons why we're here today. First reason, of course, is Marcus's family. After he's passed, we had discussions and preparing to go out to Texas, and we learned real quickly from his family that he didn't share a ton of what was going on at work with his family. He was a man of a few words here and a man of a few words about work with his family at home. So they were really kind of anxious to hear anything that we had as far as stories about Marcus, and observations, and any of that stuff. They were really kind of starved for that information. And you'll get an opportunity to kind of play a role in that today. We ask you at some point, when you get an opportunity to sit down in front of this camera and just either say something to them, or if you got a story, because I know there's tons of them that are popping into your head at this time. If you get an opportunity, they were really anxious to hear that kind of stuff for us to kind of put those pieces together for him. Yeah, we need to share those things about work with their family. Marcus had an incredible family. They welcomed us with open arms. His parents, brother, sister, kids, they were awe-inspiring as we watched. We could see Marcus's influence on his family from minute one. Just discussions over the phone with them, getting prepared to go out there, meeting that family, watching them, the way they welcomed us, the ceremony that was there. We could not have been more impressed with their family, and that is, of course, a direct reflection, like Fletcher said, on the way that he was away from work and the way he was with his family. We want to be able to kind of give them a piece of what Marcus was at work. We want, he's got I think 2 grandkids now, and maybe a 3rd on the way. But we wanted a place where they could come to kind of see his impact on us as a fire department in this community. We wanted them to kind of know the impact that he had on those of us that worked here with him. We wanted this place to be real for them. We wanted them to be able to come here, see that impact. You'll see a quote above the shadow box in there, and it says, "Iron sharpens iron." And you can kind of see it up on the. I just had that plaque made because we can't talk about Marcus without talking about his time in the gym, right? He's a guy who was just incredibly blessed with great. So you see that iron sharpens iron, and that's a quote that Marcus gave us at a small Marcus-style retirement service at the top of Dennis Creamer's mansion there in PB on his deck. And that was a quote that he gave us when Fletcher presented him with his axe and kind of congratulated him on his retirement. And that quote from the scriptures, he talked about, he said, you guys, I'm paraphrasing of course, we have the video, it got passed around a ton right before we went to Texas and since. And Marcus said that, you guys say that, I inspired you guys, but honestly, you guys helped inspire me as well. And that's where he talked about that iron sharpens iron. So yet another example of a man that we need to kind of celebrate for his example. You'll see it above the little boxes. Marcus was never much one for the limelight, right? And so when he started making that quote, he turned it around onto somebody else. And like Fletcher said, that was Marcus, right? He did not take the limelight on himself. He always put it on somebody else. And in fact, if Kevin Smith is here, Kevin Smith was telling stories out there in Texas that he would try to catch a picture of Marcus doing something at a fire around here, and Marcus avoided him like the plague. He could not. He says, I have maybe one or two pictures. We try to come up with pictures of the family up there, but Kevin Smith, the guy who took pictures around here for years and years, I know y'all remember him, only has one or two of Marcus doing anything. That's the kind of guy Marcus was. And that kind of brings me to the second reason we're here. In my opinion, there's never been an individual member of the San Diego Fire Department that deserves to be elevated in this way and held up as an example as much as Marcus Tarver does. He was a man of few words, but displayed incredible power in every action, whether it was his devotion to God by bowing his head reverently before every meal, his incredible athleticism and feats of strength, very famous of course, or his service and bravery on the fireground. To me, the term legend really gets tossed around pretty casually these days, but if it's one guy on our department in the 29 years I've been here that deserves the title of legend, we're here and you all know it, that it's Marcus Tarver. He really was the example. Fletcher and I have talked a ton over the past few months about it, and there's nobody that we need to celebrate for his example on our department more than Marcus Tarver, right? He lived with two great commandments. Better than anybody else. To love God and the Lord. He treated you with respect, and he treated you with love, true love. That was Marcus Tarver. We all saw it in him, and that's why we're here today. To kind of celebrate Marcus the way that he was, the way that he treated us. So it is with those words that we dedicate the shadow box that you guys can see in here, that portion of the wall to Marcus Tarver, and really kind of this station, a place for us to remember and emulate. And that's why we remember him, right? We want to emulate that example. We want to pass that example on to the younger guys on this job about what Marcus was and how much he meant to us, right? It's a testament to see everybody here, all the folks that worked here in the past and are working here now. So with that, we dedicate that shadow box. We dedicate this station to the memory and legacy that is Fire Engineer Marcus. Thank you. Now here's how the rest of it are going to go. We have a flag ceremony, so we'll ask you to kind of like move out to the parking area, open the gate there. We're going to get some room out there rather than being out on the street. Once we have that flag ceremony, we'll get the hallway door here. Try to there, you kind of file through, and you'll get an opportunity to kind of check out the memorial that we have there for him in that shadow box. And I really want to thank Chris Miller especially. I know he's not here. We did a phenomenal job in true Chris Miller fashion, and all the guys here that really put in a lot of labor of love, and honestly, they weren't guys that weren't here with Marcus, so they had to hear about it from us. So the fact that they took that and ran with it is greatly appreciated. So we'll just kind of have you file through that way, and then kind of exit back out of the kitchen, and Hans will set up in the little courtyard area there. And I do ask, even if it takes a little while, I do ask if you have something to say or give to this family at any point. Just kind of wait your turn. We have it, we'll set them off in the corner here so that not all eyes are on you while you're saying what you want to the family, and that's what we have. Anything I forget? Oh, okay. All right, so we'll ask you to head out to the parking lot here, and then we'll have our flag ceremony, and then go from there.
I've tried so hard to see it. Took me so long to believe it. That you choose someone like me to carry your victory. Perfection could never earn it. You give what we don't deserve, and you take the broken things and raise them to glory. You are my champion. Giants fall when you stand undefeated. Every battle you've won. I am who you say I am. You crown me with confidence. I am seated in the heavenly place, undefeated.
first met Marcus Tarver about 2001, 2002. I believe he had just gotten promoted to engineer, and in being new, I only knew of Marcus Tarver through the grapevine, and basically he was already a legend as far as his firefighting capabilities, and so I was super excited to be on his crew and have him as my teacher, and that's exactly what he did. He took me under my wing, and every day he would try to teach me something that he had learned, pass that skill on. Like one of the things was, I was starting all the equipment on the truck one day, and he said, "Hey, try wearing your gloves, because you don't start equipment on the fire ground with bare hands in a nice, easy environment. It's usually in a more difficult environment. So train right now for those difficult times." So he had me start the chainsaw with my gloves on, start the equipment with my gloves on, and he would even do it blindfold or with his eyes closed. Another thing that was super impressive that he did the first time I saw him do it was we have a 6-pound firefighter pick-headed axe, so it's got a pick on the end of it, and he would just grab it down and then strong arm it up, and then bring the axe all the way down until the pike would just get right here. And I was so afraid that thing, he would let that thing go and it would spike him right in the head, but he had that kind of strength. And I would then he would leave the room and I grabbed the axe and I couldn't even get it up halfway. And so just, he was that kind of a person. I was just always larger than life, I'm sure everybody says. But one other thing I wanted to point out was that he was like the gentle giant. He had this little corner that he would go into, and he would read Louis L'Amour novels, and it was sort of like his little moment of zen, his little space, where he could, decompress. And he gave me my first Louis L'Amour book, and also another book. It was Lonesome Dove. It was the first time I read that, and I always felt safe with him. I could have a good conversation with him, and he was such a well-respected guy, and I was brand new, but I never felt like anything other than we were equals in that environment. Very friendly, super approachable, and I loved it. So thank you, and thank you for sharing Marcus with us.
Joanne, and to the family, I just want to send my condolences again. I know this is hard for you, but I know God's got you, and He's got His arms around you, and He's holding you, and He's gonna help you work your way through this. And I just want to say, hey, Marcus, he was 6 years older than me, but he was my big brother when we worked here at 12s. And I enjoyed every moment with him as a partner and as a friend away from the job. And I just want to wish you guys well. And if you need anything, just let me know. My wife has been in touch with you, and she was thinking about you guys the other day, and we're still thinking about you and thinking about Marcus. You guys take care and hang in there, and God bless. See you soon.
Hello, Tarver family. My name is Robert Logan. I had the honor of working with your husband, your father, your loved one. One thing I would like to say is that Marcus set the benchmark on morale, on how professional firefighters should conduct themselves, work ethic. He set so many benchmarks across the workforce that you're going to see the tremendous turnout that he got today for this memorial. For me, I came on a little bit later, so I didn't have the opportunity to work with Marcus a whole lot, but I did know Marcus. And one thing he did for me is he set those benchmarks for me. So he did have a conversation with me at Station 11 one day regarding the fire service and being a career firefighter, as he would call it, which goes across all ranks. And one thing he said that hit home with me is, all you need to do, man, is he would always say, all you need to do, man, is treat everybody with respect. You don't have to treat everybody equal. You don't have to treat everybody fair. But if you treat everybody with respect, that's all you have to do. And those simple words have followed me throughout my career, and I make it a point that I treat every single person that I've encountered with respect, despite the circumstances. And I owe that to Marcus Tarver. Thank you very much, and I'm glad I had this opportunity to speak to you.
So I just want to share with you that, and I know you've already heard it from everyone else, but Marcus was an amazing, amazing firefighter and an amazing man. I think what you'll hear from most people is, you know, the way he conducted himself on and off the job, stellar. And he is missed. You know, hearing about his passing really took me for a loop, because he wasn't, you know, one that I would imagine that would be gone from us way too soon. But I know God always has a purpose, and you know, part of the purpose may be, you know, how Marcus could bring so many people from so many different walks of life together. And I think that's what you see here is just, you know, people that love Marcus. Marcus spread a lot of love, and he deserves a lot of love. So thank you for sharing him with us for all these years. And I really hope and pray that peace and comfort is starting to come to your life, and just understand that he was a big, big part of San Diego and the fire department. And on behalf, he also went to school with my husband, Crawford. And so on behalf of Steve Hutchinson and myself, we just wish you all the best. Merry Christmas, and we love you. Thank you.
Okay, hello Tarver family. This is Ken Marlborough. I just want to tell you, I'm still thinking about that loss. I miss him, but I'll never forget him. Marcus brings up several things for me on how a man should be. One, he loves his wife, he loves his family, and he loves his friends, he loves his job, he loves his job. And those things were very much embedded into me. He taught me more than I could teach him, even though I was his captain for almost 6 years. So just a real quick story. You know, Marcus' strength is well known. You all probably know how strong he was. Years ago, we had this fire off of 30th at University, a commercial fire. I went down an alleyway, and I made a big mistake because it had a security gate on it that looked like it was a jail cell. And the only person I could turn to was Marcus. And I didn't tell him. I asked him, Marcus, can you get us in here? Because if you can't, we really screwed up. So Marcus looked at it. We got a halogen bar, and he popped it unbelievably, real quickly. So anyway, we got the fire out, and when the investigators came to ask me, how'd you get in there? I said, we went in the back, and they didn't believe it. So they closed it back up, and they made Marcus do it again, just to prove it, and sure enough, he did it again. Last thing I'll say is, he got me into rodeo. Bodacious. I know you know who that is. I'm still watching. Although Bodacious is gone, I see his videos all the time, and I think about Marcus. God bless you all. Thank you.
Hello, Tarver family. My name is Matt. I work here at Station 12, opposite divisions of Marcus. I know you've heard a lot of kind words, and just mimic everything that was said. Just a great man, a person that I always look forward to walking to the station, see Marcus at the table or working out or whatever it was he was doing. He was a person that was always a delight to see. He's always respectful and nice. But the biggest thing I remember of Marcus and take from him was, when you sat next to him, you just want to be a better person. You want to be a better man. When you sit quietly, a lot of times no words actually spoke a lot. Because you just listened to what he had to say, or he listened to you, good active listener. But in the end, you just wanted to emulate yourself after him. So terribly sorry about your loss. It's obviously rocked a lot of us here. What a great man, and a lot of great memories. So best of luck to him.
Hey Tarver family, how you doing? My name is Dave Cisneros. Just want to thank you guys for sharing Marcus with us for the time that you did. And I can't say anything that you haven't already heard. Marcus was a legend on this job for the man that he was, as well as the firefighter that he was. And we were just very blessed to have him for the time that we did and learn many things from him. And his legacy will live on here forever at one of the busiest, most respected firehouses in the department, Station 12, which now I have the privilege of being a part of. So I just want you to know that we love and respect you guys and your family as much as we love and respect Marcus, and he will be remembered. Merry Christmas.
I just want to say Merry Christmas to the Tarver family, and I'm sorry for your loss. He was a wonderful, wonderful man. And here at Station 12 today, we're celebrating his life. And he was in the academy right before me. And there was, unlike Marcus, I had these illusions of grandeur playing football. I thought I was an athlete. So I was enamored when I heard that this guy in the academy before me actually played professional football in the USFL and played with Herschel Walker. So I couldn't wait to meet him. And he was very humble. And I was shocked that he wasn't more braggadocious like I was. He was just a great athlete, a great person, and he didn't have to say it. It just emanated from his presence. And I just want you to know that your father was a good friend, and he was a great employee, and he was a true hero. Merry Christmas.
Hi, my name is Bob Lyon, and I worked with Marcus for a lot of years here at 12s. And I just want to wish you well, and I'm very sorry for your loss. Marcus was a hell of a guy. Everybody misses him, and credit to Marcus's, the group of people that we worked with at the time. Probably some of the most radical, off-the-wall, crazy people that you'd ever run into. But Marcus was the one sane rock we had in the whole mix. And no matter what we ever did, Marcus was always steady, calm, cool, collected, and he kind of kept us all above water. Because without Marcus, I think it would have gone a lot worse. And I was there. I was Marcus's captain at the time. He saved Fletcher and little baby Milton. And I don't know if your dad ever talked about it, but they were stuck up on a roof with a bad fire, and he moved the ladder out of harm's way over where they could get off the roof. And they were able to save themselves. And to this day, had it been Joey Toromina, they'd probably both be dead. But Marcus saved their lives. And again, I'm really sorry for your loss, but he was a hell of a guy. I know he's in a better place now. Thanks.
Steve Bolin, retired San Diego Fire. I want to say a few words about Marcus and how much what a great person he was. Just being in his presence made you feel good. The only story I'm going to tell is about the time when Marcus called me up and asked me for some videos of, because he was wanting to show his girls how to play basketball. And he knew I was an avid basketball player and always playing, so he called me and he asked me, hey man, you got any videos on dribbling or anything like that? And I said, yeah, I do. He said, I really appreciate it. I'm trying to teach my girls how to play basketball. So I gave them to him, and if his girls are playing basketball and playing it well, I want to say it contributed to that video, contributed to it. But I know most of it was from Marcus's tutelage and his training and his dedication. He was a good man, and I appreciated knowing him, and I know God's got a good place for him now. So thank you, and God bless you all.
I'm Mike McBride, and I had the pleasure of working with Marcus. I was a young captain, and did many sessions out here on the couch here at 12s, and just the example that he set every day was an example for me, obviously, and I appreciate the time I got with him. Wish it had been longer, like all of us, and it was a pleasure to work with your son, your husband, your brother. Thank you.
My name is David Williams. On the job, I was known as D-Dub or Dub. And I just wanted to say it was a blessing working with Marcus. Every day coming to work and being able to be on Marcus's crew. It was a really cool experience. love Marcus. Everything you're hearing about Marcus is just the tip of the iceberg of the way he was thought of on the job. Couple of experiences I'd like to share is one day we had a structure response. Had it been 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, and I roll out of my bed and put on my slippers and head out my door, and Marcus happened to be in front of me when I turned the corner down the hallway. And it had been a long day, a real long, busy day. So when I get around the corner, I see Marcus ahead of me in the hallway, and he's just walking real slow. He's just kind of moving his feet real slow. So as I run up behind him, because the tones are going off and the red light is shining, so when I run up behind him, I started to do a swim move around him. I thought maybe if I just do a swim move, I can get around him and get to the rig. But, just as I pulled up behind him, I thought about it, and I thought, if Marcus ain't worried about it, then I'm not worried about it. I know it's going to be all good. So I just fell in behind him, and we both shuffled down the hall until we got to the rig. He just kind of instilled that kind of confidence, you know what I mean? If he wasn't sweating it, there ain't nothing to worry about. One other time I wanted to share is with another structure response. This time it was the day. We're on the rig, we're getting our gear on. Marcus is usually there with us. He's just as quick as all of us, but Marcus wasn't there. So 30 seconds or so later, after we're getting our stuff on, hear somebody coming down the pole, and look over, and it's Marcus. He's coming down the pole. He had been in the shower, so he's drenched wet, ain't nothing on him but a towel. He could have opted to take the stairs, but he came down the pole. Runs over to the rig. I'm thinking, okay, I guess he's gonna get his gear on real quick. Marcus jumps in the rig, starts it up. We mob out the station, down Imperial. Only thing Marcus had on, when he got in the rig, the only thing Marcus had on was a seatbelt. That's it. So it was a good thing that, it turned out to be nothing. I was just curious to know. I never asked him, hey man, what were you gonna do when we had a ripper? What were you gonna do? I didn't want to ask him because I knew he was gonna do something. He was just a player like that. He was just gonna do it. But in any case, it was cool having conversations with Marcus. He was a deep brother, a deep thinker. He was a good listener. And we're all gonna miss him. And I was just, like I said, I'm blessed to have worked with him, to really get to know him, and and have his memory and his examples still a part of my life today. Thank you.
This is the crew. There's 5 of us, and then Marcus 6, and then we went to the Wicks fire, one of the biggest fires in the history of San Diego. And the reason why we got together to talk about this story was, I think most of us that were there will agree that might have been the best day of firefighting that we had in our career. Because of the fires we went through, because of the situation that was going on. But more important, because of the crew that we put together. We were 6 people on the truck, and Marcus was the 6th one. And and so this is going out to the Tarver family. Marcus, when we first got there, we got off the truck. The whole block was on fire. And then we got off the truck. And I didn't know what we were supposed to do because we were on a truck. We didn't have any water. And so these guys got off right away, and they just started getting chainsaws and rescue saws, and they started cutting fences. And I saw Marcus over there, and he's cutting a palm tree down. The top of the palm tree is on fire. He's cutting the palm tree down. And it's in between 2 houses. It's right in between 2 houses. So I go up to Marcus, and Marcus, do you know which way this thing is going to fall? Nope. I said, Marcus, what if it falls on one of these houses? He looked at it. I guess we're just going to have to put it out, Dennis. Yeah. So then he continues to cut that tree, and when he cut that tree falls right on the sidewalk with the top of it still on fire, and those guys come and put it out. But that was Marcus's tree cutting skill. Somebody else could talk about his tractor driving skill.
The tractor? You guys run the tractor. Well, the one I remember is when Dennis was trying to be like Marcus Tarver.
Oh, okay.
So at the end of the day, we're at a house. Somehow the fire started on the inside. We all go up there. It was a bedroom on the second story, and it's just ripping. But we're waiting for water. So all of us were there, and then Marcus goes, "I'm gonna go to the roof." So I go, "Well, I'm gonna go with you." So I go with Marcus. And these guys stayed in there. So Marcus and I up on the roof, and it was shingles, and we're breaking them and cutting holes. And then fire's blowing out that hole, and another hole, self-vented, started blowing. And I'm with Marcus, the legend, right? So I'm sitting there going, so I see the fire, and I go, hey, tugging like a little kid. Hey, Mr. Tarver, there's fire blowing behind us. He goes, oh, Dale, let's go, we gotta go. Oh, thank God. Thank goodness. So anyway, so we're looking for a way down. We had a way down, but there was another ladder coming our way. So we see this ladder kind of inch across 15 feet of roof line. Not one single swoop. Oh, it was head plank. I don't know, it took like, it seemed forever. I think it was the 14-foot roof ladder, right, Dennis?
It was a heavy ladder.
It was very heavy, deceivingly heavy. So we look down and Dennis is like, gotcha! We get down there, and we start laughing. Dennis is going, I was trying to be like Marcus, trying to move that fire like he did at Kmart. And yeah, we were sitting there. I remember Marcus sitting up there on the roof with Marcus, laughing at this ladder slowly creeping across. Dennis saved us.
Yeah, that was my invitation.
I got a story. I remember, I'll start at the beginning. When we arrived at Station 12, the fire had started the night before and units had been deployed. In fact, Engine 12 from Station 12 had already been deployed. So the oncoming crew B division arrives, and it's us 6 who were the oncoming crew. The 2 other persons were working the night before and had already went out on Engine 12. That was John Fry and Stephen Pruitt. So we're here and we're ultimately assigned to staff the truck. Eventually we get summoned to go and respond, and we're part of the strike team at the Witch Fire. As we're putting all of our gear onto the rig, it was my time that particular day to be on the truck, and it was Marcus's day for the pump. But this was a unique circumstance where we have 6 persons now. We had an extra engineer and an extra firefighter. Being the fire department is a regimented organization and time on matters. Even though it was my day to work on the truck, I offered it to Marcus, knowing that the day ahead was going to be chock full of a lot of labor. As you'll hear with more of these stories, we went to a lot of different fires. And so out of respect and humility, I said, Marcus, hey, you're the senior engineer. Why don't you be the engineer and I'll go ahead and go in the back. And without any hesitation, like, no, Wayne, this is your day on the truck. And so it's your show. And ultimately, I think he wanted to get into some of the action with the guys as well to get back to the days. And it probably was more appropriate to have him in the firefighter role versus the engineer role. So that was a great part of the day, the beginning part of the day that kind of summed up the kind of guy Marcus was. He had every right to, within our group, within our culture, within the fire service culture, to use his rank, right, to use his time on and take the spot. And it wouldn't have been an issue at all, but he was, no, that's yours. He's just and fair. And so that's my one story. I let someone else jump in, and I think we had a bunch of other fires, so I'll come in a little bit for some more.
This is something a little different. I want to relay a little story of Marcus's sense of humor and what a good heart he had. One day we're out here on the app pillar in the lounge. We call it the lounge area. So I was telling him, hey Marcus, this EMT came up and he's telling me about this time. Somebody told him about a time on a fire where me
I grabbed the ladder and moved it over to a certain position so the firefighters could use it. I told him, man, that wasn't me. That was Marcus Sparks that did that. And the EMT, he insisted. He said, no, I heard it was you. Somebody told me that was you. I said, no, that was not me. That was Marcus Sparks. So he said, and he insisted the third time that it was me. Well, after the third time, I just said, yeah, it was me. So I told Marcus, hey man, I tried real hard to give you the credit. But this guy insisted that it was me, so I just had to take the credit. I hope you don't mind. So Marcus thought that was funny. He didn't do nothing but laugh, you know. So that was part of Marcus's good heart. He loved to laugh, and he had a great sense of humor. And so that was his little something I wanted to share.
I told this story. We were on the witch fire. We were out one night, and we bogarted another engine company. We found hiding in the bushes. Everybody grabbed hose lines off of that, and they went to work. And there goes Marcus with a chainsaw again. Every one of us always wanted to be like Marcus. I'm gonna go with Marcus. He's falling trees again, and I'm gonna go with Marcus. And I told this story, and now that I've sat and reflected on it, Marcus is cutting these trees, and I'm just behind him with the chainsaw, and I'm cutting tiny little trees down. I see Marcus is cutting this big tree, cutting, he stops the saw, and I'm like, what, Marcus? And I'm not sure if his chainsaw really did get stuck. Now that I think about it, I think he just said, Billy, why don't you come over here? My chainsaw's stuck. You finish cutting this, and you fell this big old tree. But I guess that just goes back to kind of the guy Marcus was, to recognize what everybody wanted to do and help people. And, you know, ever since we got the news about Marcus, it's definitely changed my life in the way that actually my relationship with the Lord. So, again, I got to thank Marcus. He was put here to do a job, and he shared it with us. And again, I just want to thank the whole Tarver family for sharing him with me and everybody here. He had an impact on all of us.
I'll say one last, back to the witch fire. Because it was Dennis's idea. We're all here, and we were all on the same crew on the witch fire. And in fact, just moments ago, Dennis had shared that he had reached out to Marcus for the next time he would come out to visit San Diego, if he wouldn't mind getting together with all of us so we could share stories of this day. It was October 17, 2007, I believe was the day. And you may be putting it together, but that day was incredible because it was a firestorm, which now, as you're aware, looking at the news, seems to be happening all the time, where you have large areas that are butted up against vegetation or urban interface, they call it, and you get these huge fires. Well, at the time, this was only the second time. 2003 was the Cedar Fire, 2017 was the Witch Fire. So it was a big thing for us at the time. And what I want to get across to you is we had about, you could break up that 24-hour shift into about 8 or 10 different chapters. And each chapter was an area where we were assigned to and where we were putting out fires, and they all had different kind of elements to them. This one part I'm going to bring up is, I think it was well into the day when we were in Rancho Santa Fe at a nursery. Where was that? So I would say this is around chapter 7 or 8 in this 12 chapter day. So we're well involved doing a bunch of different firefighting, and we ended up getting an assignment at this nursery in Rancho Santa Fe. And we were told to protect the property, ensure that the flames don't do more damage to this nursery and all of the elements that were there. And we just had a truck, as Dennis mentioned. The truck has a ladder. It's more used for structured firefighting. It's not really capable of doing this type of work that they asked us to do. But being resourceful, Marcus and Dylan Chu scoured the nursery area. while they were scouring, I believe Dennis was looking at seeing what we were going to do. Hey, we're going to cut a line, get all of this vegetation out of the way so if the fire comes over here, it won't get the nursery on fire. And as we're formulating a plan, out of nowhere, here comes, you could hear the chugging of a small engine. And turning a corner, you see Dylan Chu in a small tractor.
Baby.
Little baby Dylan Chu, and he's smiling. And then he turns the corner, and so we're like, what? They commandeered these tractors. And then no sooner did he turn the corner than comes Marcus Tarver in a larger tractor with a grin from ear to ear. Now I know he was really into tractors. In fact, I saw some photos of him from the ceremony, right from the funeral, showing him in his tractor and grinning eye to eye, ear to ear. So anyway, these guys found these tractors and ended up cutting line around the nursery, which was an appropriate tactic for us to do. So he was just super happy. I wanted to share that with you, Tarver family, where that his love for tractors on that particular day was able to enjoy it while we fought this fire at the witch fire.
I want to add another story that doesn't have to do with the witch fire, but it has to do with the station and this crew. Marcus loved to eat. And then before dinner, oftentimes, we would drive around this district and he would find like hole-in-the-wall soul food places, and we would just go in there and just visit these establishments and eat before. Marcus loved to eat. Marcus loved to eat. So one time at the station, Steve Pruitt might have cooked one of the worst meals possible. He had some cold turkey on some salad, and the turkey, I mean,
Chicken in a bag.
it wasn't good. It wasn't good. So we gutted our way through it.
Oh, it wasn't that bad. I remember I said to go for it, man. He even asked me at Costco, hey, should I do this? In the back, yeah, man, that stuff's delicious. No, anyway, I'm sorry. I'll take the blame too. But okay.
You got partner in crime. So we get through eating, and right through eating, we get a call. And we get a call right down there at Church's Chicken right there. So I don't know who's on the crew, but we walk in, and there's this older lady. She's sitting at a booth, and she's having trouble breathing. So the firefighter, the medic, they go in there, and I don't know who's on the crew that day, but they go in there to take care of the lady. Me and Marcus, we run in there. Everything's good. Now we just got to wait for an ambulance. And then I look over there, and I see Marcus in line. I'll take the 2-piece with the biscuits, and I'm like, man, you get some food, huh? So I get in line behind them, and I'm like, yeah, I'll take the 2-piece also, man. That was a terrible dinner. That was a terrible dinner. But I think I mentioned this when I was there, and Marcus loved to laugh. And he loved to do things around here that would create a fun atmosphere. And taking us out for food and being involved in the community was another way of Marcus being an example for us. And I think now God has taken Marcus to the buffet line in the kingdom of heaven. And there's probably no cold turkey salad up there. I think it's a bunch of really good Southern food that he's enjoying, and it's definitely an honor and a privilege to be working with him in this station. And I'll let somebody else come out. Thank you.
Wrap it up. So this, as it was shared, was going to be a holiday gift to the family. Is that correct? So, Joanne, Brittany, Tiffany, Caleb, Nikki. Merry Christmas from all of us here, from all of your extended family. We love you all. Best wishes.
Hello, Marcus Tarver family. My name is Darren Austin. I met you all when we came to Brennan, Texas. But I wanted you to meet my son and tell you what Marcus inspired me to do in raising my son. Marcus met DeAndre when he was, I don't know, 1 or 2 years old. And I just want you all to get to see him as a man. And when I met Marcus's son in Texas, it made me think of how proud I am to have my son and to raise him under the guidance and influence of your dad, Marcus. He meant a lot to me. He always will. And my son is here to understand and listen to stories that these other people can share about what Marcus meant to them. And I told my son, DeAndre, that this is the person that touched lots of lives, and he meant something different to everybody. And he was just as important. And I just wanted to share that with you. Thank you for allowing the fire department family to share Marcus. And you are in our hearts and prayers always. Thank you.
All right, this is the Tarver family. My name's Brian Mann, and I have the pleasure of working here at Station 12 in Division with Marcus. I was here for 6 years, and I wanted to thank you all for sharing Marcus with us. It's the best times of my life. We're right here with our crew. We really got something special. It's kind of a rare thing for the fire service to have the camaraderie and the bond that we did together as a crew. We pushed each other's limits. We made each other better because we could rely on each other. And Marcus was a big part of it. I knew that I could do my job, take risks, and push harder than anywhere else when I was here with Marcus. Because I always knew if something went wrong, Marcus got it back. I knew if I went in the building and the roof was going to collapse, I just didn't think about that because I knew Marcus was not very well always come to help us out. So thank you for sharing Marcus with us. And again, thank you for allowing us to come out to Texas and pay tribute and our respects to Marcus' service. That was truly an honor. I don't want to repeat all the stories, some of the ones that I relayed there too, but you know, Marcus always had a great sense of humor in any situation, and he was always the guy in the crew that kind of would uplift everybody. When everybody was down, you know, he's kind of got to feel it, and he always had an applicable Bible verse ready, or you know, some words of wisdom that always made us all better as a group. And truly, that's a rare thing. It's going to be missed. If there ever was anybody in the fire service that had a reason to have swagger, pride, it was Marcus Tarver. He was better than any of us. He was stronger. He was more skilled. He had a great sense of humor. He had a strong faith that drove him. And he was a great family. Those are the things that you all know. But humbleness is a rare thing in the fire service today. You know, you have some guys that get a couple fires under the belt, they puff their chests out, walk around and brag and high five and everything. Marcus did everything better, longer than they did, but he didn't carry himself. He had a reason more than anybody, but he did because he was great, truly a great man, and a humble servant. And one of the things that kind of amazed me was I didn't know that he didn't tell you guys any of the things that he did here at the fire station. The incidents we ran, a number of times he saved my life, my partners that I've been able to bear witness to. That he never would come home and even tell that. So that was kind of the joy for me at the service in Texas to release some of those stories so that you guys understood truly what a great man he was. Because he would, I know he would never brag and never tell that. Marcus was truly a great man in every sense of the word. And he would always joke around with us. And he's one of the guys that people talk about leading by example. That's what Marcus did. He let his actions speak, and everybody paid attention when Marcus was around. And Marcus didn't say a whole lot, other than joking around, but when he did, you listened. Because he was always had something about, not just about the fire department, about how to do better at your job and about life in general. And he made me a better man for having to work with Marcus. Now, when I first came here in Station 12, I wasn't the best basketball player. I'll put it out there. And one of the greatest things we had, joys of the day, was going out and play basketball every morning. Code and I would go out, we go down to the local gyms in school, and we play basketball for hours. And there, we kind of left a lot of things on the court. All the stress of the job, all that stuff we left out there, and we had a great time doing it. That was one of the things we looked forward to, that time together. Marcus threw me a bunch of passes that any normal human being should have caught, but I fumbled and dropped a bunch. It kind of cost us a lot of games. Sorry, Marcus. But he took it upon himself to kind of train me. It was like involuntary training. I didn't know he was doing it. Around the whole fire station, he had basketball stage all around the station. And he would just fire them at me on the kick. So I dropped so many passes. So I remember coming out of the bathroom stall, I heard, Brian! I looked, the ball came at me, boom! I'm like, oh, damn! Brian, oh, you gotta be ready. You gotta be ready, Brian, all the time. Oh, dang it! Let Marcus down. Then I get up out of the chair, walk in the kitchen, and I don't know how long he'd be waiting there, but he'd wait in the corner with a basketball for me to come through the door. And he'd say, Brian! Whew! And just kept throwing ball after ball after ball all around the station. I was coming out the bathroom, the TV room, on the apple floor, anywhere. He was fired. Until finally I started catching. And kind of took a little sense of pride in that, and teaching probably the worst guy on the crew to catch a basketball. That was no easy feat. But that's the kind of guy that Marcus was. Marcus was embodied the kind of person that we all aspired to be. He had it all. And he made us better for working with him. I wish I could tell that to him now. I miss him dearly. And he's not going to be forgotten around the station of fire service here too. All my time in the fire service, on this day right now, right here at Station 12, working with Marcus. So thank you. Hope you guys are all well. Thank you for sharing Marcus.
Hello, Tarver family. My name's Ed Francel, and I had the privilege to work not just at Station 12 for about 13 and a half years of my career, but I had the privilege to work with Marcus here. I just want to say thank you for sharing. Such a wonderful man. And I often say, he put all of us to shame just because of how good of a person he was. But there's a couple, I'm sure you'll hear a lot of different stories about Marcus, and I'm sure basketball's come up a few times, but I was I was part of the enforcement of basketball where I make sure that we got our exercise every day, and Marcus was playing with us that day, and we both went up for a rebound, and I got the worst end of it. I ended up on the floor, and the next day I go home and I'm limping, and my wife says, "Hey, what happened to you?" And I said, I was playing basketball, and I ran into this real strong, good athletic guy. We both went up, and I took the brunt of it. And she goes, "Oh, really?" And I go, "Yeah." I think I'll be okay. I go, "This kid is really, really good. He's smart. He's fun. Great firefighter. A good person." His name is Marcus Tarver. And my wife looked at me and she goes, "I know Marcus." And I said, "You do?" She goes, "Yeah." Well, my wife went to the University of Hawaii and ran track while Marcus was playing football there, and they got to know each other. So it's kind of a small world when you think about it. But Marcus is a wonderful man, and had a lot of really good years. I often say that you really don't even know, you don't even have to try and talk about the character of Marcus. All you have to do in front of firefighters is just say the word Marcus Tarver, and everybody knows who you're talking about. So again, thank you for sharing. God bless, and I assure you he's resting in peace. Thank you.
Joanne, kids, we'll say hi. I haven't talked to you a couple of times, but for kids, I've been connected with the family since I was in the first grade, and then I was shocked and surprised pleasantly surprised when Marcus introduced his wife to me, and it was Joanne, your mom. And because Joanne was like the best friend of my high school girlfriend. At the time, she used to terrorize me when I was a teenager. But enough of that. I'm sure you've listened to a lot of people say a lot of things about Marcus, and most of them about how great of a man he was, and how giving and how loving he was, all the positive things. But I'm here to tell you, I worked with Marcus drove for me here at Station 12 and at Station 29, and he had a devious side to him. There's a story once we had a firefighter here who was into bodybuilding. He was probably lifting weights for about 2 months, decided he was going to enter a bodybuilding contest. He actually took video and had a DVD of his contest, and he was excited about it. Fletcher, the thoughtful man that he is, advising this guy, do not bring the video to the station for us to watch, because he understood what would happen if we watched the video. But Marcus encouraged me forcefully, hey, we want to see the video. And so this guy took Marcus' advice over Fletcher's advice and brought the video in. And one of my favorite moments is watching the pleasure and joy that Marcus got from watching this firefighter that had no muscles in this little Speedo, who looked like more like a praying mantis than a bodybuilder. And the humiliation that followed that, and the laughter, and I was like, "That's terrible, Marcus. You shouldn't have did that." That was a memorable moment. And like some of the things that Fletcher said earlier about Marcus being a big brother. Although I was the captain, Marcus allowed me to be the captain and follow my lead, and it allowed me to have that authority and responsibility. But it always felt like he was our big brother, with him and Fletcher and Brian and Dylan and all those guys on the crew. I was a captain. He was my right hand man and my left hand man there driving for me. But we always felt that Marcus was our big brother. And that's all I have. Joanne, kids love you. If you need anything, reach out. I'll give you a call. I'm always here.
Well, Merry Christmas to the Tarver family. Please allow me to share a moment, some memories that I have of Marcus and what he meant to me personally. As a young firefighter, I came to Station 12, where I first met Marcus, and the people that surrounded him here had already been influenced by him in their special way. When you're new in any situation, you're always looking for acceptance, and for me here, amongst all the senior firefighters at this fire station, Marcus was that for me. He was quiet spoken, but yet stern personality in the fire station that you couldn't quite understand where he fit into the role until days of spending time with him came in, and watching the senior firefighters and captains, engineers, and even the chief look to him for advice on how to be more human and better person, and more level-headed in the things that we did on a daily basis that put us in strange situations. After Marcus left this station, there was a void left behind that a lot of us felt was necessary to fill in order to still hold on to the human side of it. And earlier today, we heard some people speaking of just how much of a brother Marcus was, and that brotherhood continues here at this fire station, I think, more than a lot of other places that we see, including our current environment in the nation. But this station, I'd like to take a moment to just kind of share with you the Hornet. Now, we borrowed the Hornet, I shouldn't say we, but the men before us borrowed the Hornet from the high school And what they did is they took him and they gave him some muscles, just like Marcus. They gave him strength. And this is kind of a shield that we stand behind, like a badge that says, hey, this hornet is strong. It has meaning, it has culture behind it, and it has history. And I think all the young people, when they see that hornet on the back of a t-shirt or on a hat like I wear it today, they know what you've come from. They know what they're going to get and what they should expect from a person that's worked at this firehouse for any given time. They all look up to that. I think it's important to recognize that Marcus had a very key and pivotal role in creating that, which will live on. And so today, by dedicating this shadow box with items that you were so generously able to donate to the fire station, gives everybody who walks the halls of this fire station for the rest of its time to look up to the person, the man who made this station what it is. I do believe that there's people that visit us for reasons after they've passed on, and I like to think of them as angels, and I think that Marcus' influence here in the angel perspective, that he's going to continue to influence the young people that come through here, and the image of him will live on, is in a sense immortalized here in the hall of Station 12. So while you sit out there in Texas, which I'm hoping is this beautiful place, and all the great things I hear about it that you come to live in now, and you smelling that Christmas tree and watching the videos of all the people that came in and spoke on the memories of Marcus, understand that even though some of us didn't spend as much time with him as we probably would have liked, but all the young people that come through this fire station will be influenced by him from now on forever. So thank you, Merry Christmas, and blessings to you and your family. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ulysses Sanchez, new member here to Station 12. I just wanted to express my condolences to the Tarver family. I was fortunate enough to get to meet him a couple of times. He was a great, positive influence to the fire service, obviously, with all the love and support that we've seen here today. And if I can be anything just a little bit like him in the next 25 years of my career, that's what I'm striving to do.
Hi, my name is Jeff Cummings. I met Marcus when I was on probation my first year. He only had about 5 shifts left, I believe, down at Ones, and it always stayed with me that he was just really kind and patient with me as a probationary firefighter. And he went out in the morning, looked at the engine, and kind of just was business as usual for him. But it just stayed with me that he was so kind and easy to be around, and kind of was someone to look up to on probation, and I will definitely miss him.
Well, we had the pleasure of meeting Marcus a handful of times early on, and he was definitely someone that was larger than life. We come here to 12 and just hear about all the legends and stories of him, and just trying our best to make him proud and carry on his legacy. So, thank you.
Hi, Tony David, one of the current captains here on A Division, Station 12. Nice and short and sweet. When I was a firefighter, when Marcus was working here, I was a firefighter at Station 19, so I got to experience the multi-company basketball drills. I'm sure you all heard about on the basketball court. Marcus was a great guy, a lot of laughs, good times. But a better story I had of him is towards the end of his career, he retired out of Station 28, which is up in Kearney Mesa. I live in that area. Anyways, one of the guys who worked there always needed little trades because he coached his kids in softball. So I'd bump in for him and do little side trades. And Marcus was the engineer there. So I remember walking into the bullpen where we watched TV, and you guys sat down, hey, what are we watching? And it was on the old Western channel. And they're all, Bonanza. I'm like, Bonanza? We normally come to the fire station, you guys are watching, sports or some sort of reality TV. And it was Marcus in there and a couple of other guys, and he liked his old Westerns. And so we sat there all afternoon. I don't know how many episodes of Bonanza we watched, but it was pretty cool. It reminded me of being a kid because my grandma loved Bonanza. So that was one of the funny stories I had with Marcus, of sitting there watching the Westerns with him, and he was all into it. But It was a great presentation day. Marcus is a standard we hold here at Station 12 for our guys to live up to. And hey, he's a good role model. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, I just want to say that I'm just so grateful for all the years that Marcus and I got the opportunity to work together, and I was able to spend time with him, and not only at work but off duty. I always called Marcus Big Bro. That was my name for him, and one thing about Marcus that I always hold dear to my heart is that he always took the time out to not only be a good role model as far as firefighting and looking out for me as far as the job is concerned, the dangerous work that we do, but on a personal level, Marcus always took the time out and listened, give me advice on things, and I hold that real dear to my heart. And you hear a lot of stories about all the amazing things that Marcus did at work, and I always had the pleasure and I feel like the benefit. We worked together for almost 10 years together, that I saw him do things on a regular basis, But for me, the term hero is always thrown around. Firefighters in general, in my eyes, is a profession where I've seen acts of heroism regularly over the course of a 30-year career. But then there's this other term that is used. It's called a hero's hero, and that's a guy or a woman that heroes look up to. And that's what Marcus was. He was a guy who, it didn't matter what level on this job you were, whether you're firefighter, engineer, captain, battalion chief, we all looked at Marcus as an example of what a firefighter should be. Not only just in the way that he conducted himself on the fire ground, but the way he carried himself on a daily basis. Big Bro, I always called him Big Bro, and one thing that whenever I think about him is I always think about how much he liked to laugh, and him and I, we laughed all the time, and all those years we worked here together, those are the things that kind of comfort me when I think about him, and when I think about him and I miss him, and I think about how much laughter we shared with each other, and Marcus loved to laugh. He was just, so joyful, and I just want to say, thank you to the Tarver family, Joanne, all the kids, and Marcus is a very special man, and I always hold him real dear to my heart, and thank you guys.